taste is the Pinterest, because they are the best.
To find out more, visit our website.
6 Minute English from bbclearningenglish.com.
Hello and welcome to 6 Minute English. I'm Rob.
And I'm Neil. Hello.
Well, Neil, I've got a question for you straight away. Were you a summer baby? Were you born in the summer?
Yes, I was actually. Late summer.
Okay. And did you go to university?
Yes. Strange questions here, Rob.
Oh, not really. My questions do make sense because we're talking about the impact when you were born has on how well you perform at school.
Okay. You calling me stupid here, Rob?
Of course, nothing like that. Well, maybe. But let's wait and see what the experts have to say. But before that, I've got another question for you.
Okay, then. Let's see if I'm clever enough to answer it.
Okay, well, based on birth records between 1973 and 1999, what is the most common birthday for a person in the United States? Is it A, the 1st of January, B, the 16th of September, or C, the 30th of March?
I'm going to guess 30th of March.
Okay, well, we'll hear the answer at the end of the programme. Another question now. According to research, are summer-born babies more likely or less likely to go to university?
Well, we're going to hear from an expert, Lorraine Dearden, who's a professor of economics and social statistics at University College London. She was interviewed by the BBC about summer-born babies. She talks about the research. How well do they do in tests? How do they perform?
All the research has shown that summer-born kids perform much worse in tests right through up until the age of 18, and even they're less likely to attend higher education.
I mean, there's a startling statistic, something like 20% less likely to go to university.
Absolutely.
That was Professor Lorraine Dearden with some really, really surprising statistics. Startling statistics, in fact.
Yes, she says summer-born kids perform much worse in tests.
Yes, these summer-born kids perform worse at school right through until the age of 18, when they might be thinking about going to university.
Yes, university, that's higher education.
So the professor said, according to research, summer babies are less likely to go to university. 20%, in fact.
Really? Well, don't forget, Rob, I told you I'm a summer baby. Well, I went to university.
Yes, of course, these are just statistics, just figures. But if you are a parent of a child starting school, these statistics are worrying.
Well, they shouldn't worry. There are lots of people who were born in the summer that have done very well at university, thank you. And some of them are now professors.
Okay, or BBC presenters, like you, Neil.
Oh, well, yes, like me. But there is a problem. Let's say you have a child, he's a boy, born in August. He's now 4 years old, so he can start school this September. But in his class, there are students whose birthday is coming very soon, so they're going to be 5. That's almost a year older than your child.
So parents want their kids to do well at school, they're concerned, and now the government is trying to help. They're trying to address those concerns. England's schools minister, Nick Gibbs, says that the government wants to change the admissions rules for schools.
The rule now in much of England is that children must start school in September after their 4th birthday.
The schools minister says these rules should be changed. Parents know their children best, said Mr. Gibb.
Parents don't want to send their children to school before they're ready.
So here is the proposal, or suggested new rules. If a child is born in the summer, parents could delay the child's start of school by up to a year.
So the child will start school at 5 years old. Great. But does our expert, Professor Lorraine Dearden, think that's a good idea? Is this the way to address the problem of age difference?
No, it's not. I mean, basically, the reason why these children do worse in tests right throughout their life is simply that they're up to a year younger than their September-born colleagues, and this does nothing to address this.
Professor Lorraine Dearden, she says that the new policy does nothing to address the problem of age difference.
There are still going to be 4-year-olds in the class, Perhaps there will be more 5-year-olds now because parents can delay their child's start at school.
Yes, the new policy addresses the concerns of parents that their children are not ready for school at 4 years old.
But there will always be this age difference in a classroom, and many of the younger children will do worse in tests. Professor Dearden says that the proposal to change the school's admission policy does nothing to address this. OK, time now for the answer to the question I set you at the beginning of the programme. I asked, based on birth records between 1973 and 1999, what is the most common birthday for a person in the United States? Is it A, the 1st of January, B, the 16th of September, or C, the 30th of March?
And I guessed the 30th of March.
But you are wrong, I'm afraid. The answer is actually the 16th of September. Happy
right.
birthday to anybody who was born then, anyway.
Yeah. OK, Rob, can you tell us the words we learned today again, please?
Of course, we heard more likely, less likely, perform, higher education, startling, statistics, admissions, delay, policy, concerns, address the problem.
Well, that's the end of 6 Minute English. Please do join us again soon. Goodbye.
Bye.
6 Minute English
From the BBC.
This is a download from BBC Learning English. To find out more, visit our website.
6 Minute English
From bbclearningenglish.com.
Hello and welcome to 6 Minute English. I'm Rob.
And I'm Neil. Hello.
Well, Neil, I've got a question for you straight away. Were you a summer baby? Were you born in the summer?
Yes, I was actually. Late summer.
Okay. And did you go to university?
Yes. Strange questions here, Rob.
No, not really. My questions do make sense because we're talking about the impact when you were born has on how well you perform.
My photo taste is the Pinterest because they are the best. Flick to link, a link to flick.
Half of the human workforce is expected to be replaced by software and robots in the next 20 years. And many corporate leaders welcome that as a chance to increase profits. Machines are more efficient. Humans are complicated and difficult to manage. Well, I want our organizations to remain human. In fact, I want them to become beautiful. Because as machines take our jobs and do them more efficiently, soon the only work left for us humans will be the kind of work that must be done beautifully rather than efficiently. To maintain our humanity in this second machine age, we may have no other choice than to create beauty. Beauty is an elusive concept for the writer Stendhal. It was the promise of happiness. For me, it's a goal by Lionel Messi. So bear with me as I'm proposing 4 admittedly very subjective principles that you can use to build a beautiful organization. First, do the unnecessary. A few months ago, Hamdi Ulukaya, the CEO and founder of the yogurt company Chobani, made headlines when he decided to grant stock to all of his 2,000 employees. Some called it a PR stunt, others a genuine act of giving back. But there was something else that was remarkable about it. It came completely out of the blue. There had been no market or stakeholder pressure, and employees were so surprised that they burst into tears when they heard the news. Actions like Ulukaya's are beautiful because they catch us off guard. They create something out of nothing because they're completely unnecessary. I once worked at a company that was the result of a merger of a large IT outsourcing firm and a small design firm. We were merging 9,000 software engineers with 1,000 creative types. And to unify these immensely different cultures, we were going to launch a third new brand. And the new brand color was going to be orange. And as we were going through the budget for the rollout, we decided last minute to cut the purchase of 10,000 orange balloons, which we had meant to distribute to all staff worldwide. They just seemed unnecessary and cute in the end. I didn't know back then that our decision marked the beginning of the end, that these two organizations would never become one. And sure enough, the merger eventually failed. Now, was it because there weren't any orange balloons? No, of course not. But the kill the orange balloons mentality permeated everything else. You might not always realize it, but when you cut the unnecessary, you cut everything. Leading with beauty means rising above what is merely necessary. So do not kill your orange balloons. The second principle, create intimacy. Studies show that how we feel about our workplace very much depends on the relationships with our coworkers. And what are relationships other than a string of micro interactions? There are hundreds of these every day in our organizations that have the potential to distinguish a good life from a beautiful one. The marriage researcher John Gottman says that the secret of a healthy relationship is not the great gesture or the lofty promise, it's small moments of attachment. In other words, intimacy. In our networked organizations, we tout the strength of weak ties, but we underestimate the strength of strong ones. We forget the words of the writer Richard Bach, who once said, intimacy, not connectedness. Intimacy is the opposite of loneliness. So how do we design for organizational intimacy? The humanitarian organization CARE wanted to launch a campaign on gender equality in villages in northern India. But it realized quickly that it had to have this conversation first with its own staff. So it invited all 36 team members and their partners to one of the Hajuharo temples, known for their famous erotic sculptures. And there they openly discussed their personal relationships, their own experiences of gender equality. With the coworkers and the partners, it was eye-opening for the participants. Not only did it allow them to relate to the communities they serve, it also broke down invisible barriers and created a lasting bond amongst themselves. Not a single team member quit in the next 4 years. So this is how you create intimacy. No masks or lots of masks. When Danone, the food company, wanted to translate its new company manifesto into product initiatives, it gathered the management team and 100 employees from across different departments, seniority levels and regions for a 3-day strategy retreat. And it asked everybody to wear costumes for the entire meeting. Wigs, crazy hats, feather boas, huge glasses, and so on. And they left with concrete outcomes and full of enthusiasm. And when I asked the woman who had designed this experience why it worked, she simply said, never underestimate the power of a ridiculous wig. Because wigs erase hierarchy, and hierarchy kills intimacy both ways, for the CEO and the intern. Wigs allow us to use the disguise of the false to show something true about ourselves. And that's not easy in our everyday work lives, because the relationship with our organizations is often like that of a married couple that has grown apart, suffered betrayals and disappointments, and is now desperate to be beautiful for one another once again. And for either of us, the first step toward beauty involves a huge risk. The risk to be ugly. So many organizations these days are keen on designing beautiful workplaces that look like anything but work. Vacation resorts, coffee shops, playgrounds, or college campuses. Based on the promises of positive psychology, we speak of play and gamification. And one startup even says that when someone gets fired, they have graduated. That kind of beautiful language only goes skin deep. But ugly cuts clean to the bone, as the writer Dorothy Parker once put it. To be authentic is to be ugly. It doesn't mean that you can't have fun or you must give in to the vulgar or cynical, but it does mean that you speak the actual ugly truth. Like this manufacturer that wanted to transform one of its struggling business units. It identified, named, and pinned on large boards all the issues, and there were hundreds of them, that had become obstacles to better performance. It put them on boards, moved them all into one room, which it called the ugly room. The ugly became visible for everyone to see. It was celebrated. And the ugly room served as a mix of mirror, exhibition, and operating room, a biopsy on the living flesh to cut out all the bureaucracy. The ugliest part of our body is our brain, literally and neurologically. Our brain renders ugly what is unfamiliar. Modern art, atonal music, jazz maybe, VR goggles for that matter, strange objects, sounds, and people. But we've all been ugly once. We were a weird-looking baby, a new kid on the block, a foreigner. And we will be ugly again when we don't belong.
Flick to link, link to flick. My photo taste is the Pinterest because they are the best.
English. To find out more, visit our